Well, hello again and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, wonderful, intelligent, hard-working, Disney background music loving wife and co-host, Michelle.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, sweetie.
So good to have you with us. We are recording this episode on Sunday, March 20th, 2022. We hope everybody had a safe and happy St. Patrick's Day this week.
Yes. Wow, I just can't believe how quickly this month is going.
Right. It's also, I believe, the first day of spring today.
Yes, it is.
So that's cool as well. We moved it through winter, although it still seems like winter in some areas. It's raining here in San Diego today.
Yeah, some parts of the country are having some storms.
Right.
Too, so.
But we are progressing into spring and into that brighter weather and good things to come. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
I've heard that there's actually a newsletter that we put out and you could subscribe to it.
I've heard that somewhere as well, over and over ad nauseum on this show. Also, if you go to the website, it pops up in various different locations for you to find out. But it's just another way to be involved in the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. We often give you news early on that before anybody else. And we ask for your input there, often, sometimes only from there.
Right. And sometimes we share only information there or give some perks to our listeners who have signed up for the newsletter.
That is very true. So another great way to be involved with us is on our social media accounts. You can find us on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you are on Facebook, come on over and join us for some good, positive Disney energy fun at our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group.
Such a wonderful group. We really appreciate those of you who have joined in and just love the sharing that you take time to provide to all of our members of our group. And if you're not part of that, really, like Tom said, come join us.
Come on over. You don't have to, it doesn't require much. Just come on over, sign up, and just follow along. And your input is always appreciated there especially, but anywhere within some of these social media channels. Right. We also have a YouTube channel. If you'd like to find us there, just do a quick search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast. Hit subscribe and you'll know whenever we have a new video. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
We love hearing from folks.
We do, in all sorts of different ways. Again, whether it be social media, whether it be through the Facebook group, whether it be through the newsletter, whether it is from the Gmail account. We just want to interact with you in as many ways as possible.
That's right.
And if you would like to support this show, there are a couple of great ways to do it. One, you can get some nice swag if you come on over to our Spreadshirt shop and pick up some of the merchandise we have there. We have lots of shirts, we have mugs, we have all sorts of different things with different logos. And every little bit of it that you purchase from there, we get a piece of it. And if you want to find us there, first you can go to our Linktree account. We have a link right there that can lead you right to it. But you can also go to Spreadshirt.com and just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast.
Right. And we really appreciate those of you who have already purchased things. And as Tom mentioned, there's all types of swag that you can get from there. And we've purchased quite a bit
Yes.
and really have enjoyed it. And so thanks again for those of you who have already done that.
Yeah, most everything you see us wearing when we're in the parks that has our logo on there has come through our Spreadshirt shop. Another great way is to become a patron of our show through our Patreon page. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/Hyperion Adventures Podcast and find a tier that fits you. We get some swag there just for signing up as part of that group. And there's also a lot of other perks that are coming along with that site as well.
We really do appreciate those of you who help support this. I mean, we do enjoy doing this podcast. It's not something that is free of charge for us to produce. And so it's really helpful for those of you who have already joined, and we do really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being a part of it, being a patron. And again, we'll have lots of stuff coming up here in the future that we want to get you involved with. So now it's time we kind of like to look back before we get into this week's episode, we kind of like to look back at the week that was. And I know that some of the stuff that's happened this week and over the last few weeks has been a little tough going on out there right now. But we find that there's always those little gems that kind of stand out as good, positive energy. And it's kind of like our favorite thing from the week that was. And we like to share those things with you. So we go through this every single episode of what is our favorite thing from the week that was. So when we do this, we always start with Michelle because, as I mentioned, she's awesome, wonderful, all things great in the world. But she also always has the best, my favorite thing from this week. So Michelle, what was your favorite thing from this week?
All right. Well, my favorite thing this week is that we got to celebrate our anniversary, which is such a special time because you are the love of my life, my sweetheart, all things wonderful in my life. And I also truly appreciate that you made me a spectacular dinner that was so delicious and so wonderful that it just topped off the day with you celebrating our anniversary. So
it was really a nice day. It was our 17th anniversary, I believe it was. Yes, our 17th anniversary. And we just had a nice, relaxing day, and I made you dinner because that's what I do. And it was just really nice. And I love you very much as well.
Thank you, sweetie.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Another
what about
night.
You?
Oh, well, I that was going to be my thing. But another nice perk, since you already mentioned that, another nice thing that we had come out of that is that, sometimes on Facebook or whatever, you get those memories from the weeks.
Right.
And a couple of them popped up this week from 5 years ago when we had a Beauty and the Beast themed anniversary weekend.
Right.
Essentially, I shared that, I made a Beauty and the Beast themed meal for you at that time. Beef ragu, cheese souffle, and the gray stuff. It's delicious. But also that we had gone to go up to Long Beach, California to go see Susan Egan perform in concert at the, she was the first Belle on Broadway. She's also Meg in the Hercules film, the animated Hercules film. And we posted that and I tagged her in it and she liked that. So it was, it doesn't surprise me. She's Michelle's bestie.
I wish,
She and Michelle, she was on a Disney cruise of ours a while back.
And we got a selfie together.
Michelle got a selfie with her. So that's why I always call her bestie.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that was just kind of nice of her to like that, that mention on Instagram.
Right.
So.
Most definitely.
The other favorite thing I had from this week is that we got our Star Wars Celebration passes this week. I weren't sure we were going to go and pull the trigger on that or not because we got a lot of stuff coming up here within the next couple of months, but we went ahead and did it anyway, and we got those lined up. So hopefully we will see many of you out there in late May for Star Wars. It'll also be Michelle's birthday on the first day of that, by the way. So if you want to come out and sing her a happy birthday at Star Wars Celebration, that would be appreciated, I'm sure.
That's sweet. Thank you.
We also got one from one of our Hyperion adventurers who wanted to chime in with his favorite thing from this week, and that was Scott in Minnesota. And he said, I'll see your Obi-Wan trailer and raise you a Miss Marvel. My favorite thing so far from this week, if you haven't seen the Miss Marvel trailer, it's really, really cool. Really good. Kamala Khan, who is going to be Miss Marvel, the first Muslim superhero within the Marvel universe. And it looked adorable. Yeah,
the trailer looks fabulous. Definitely a character that you'd want to see more and know more of the backstory.
Right. So if you haven't seen that trailer yet, go check it out. That series is coming up here in the next couple months. Yeah. And very excited to follow along with that one for sure. Yeah,
most definitely.
Now we move on to this week's show. We have lots of stuff for you this week, including, of course, we will be breaking down a little bit more of our Hyperion Adventures podcast Disney Songs Madness bracket. We will tell you who will be making it to the Elite Eight. So you'll want to get those brackets out later today and follow along as we tell you who is advancing and who is falling by the wayside. Also, there's a new Disney Vacation Club opportunity coming to the Walt Disney World Resort. We'll tell you what we know about that. If you've always wanted to learn how to draw your favorite Disney characters at home, well, we have some good news for you. And we received some information about several of the onboard dining activities that will be offered when the Disney Cruise Line's newest ship debuts this summer. We'll tell you all about that as well. But enough about all that. Let's go ahead and get to our main topic of the week. So yes, for this week's main topic, we're continuing our Creating Disney Magic series that Michelle started a couple weeks ago with our Disney Parks landscapes. This time we're looking at something else that provides some wonderful ambiance to you, some subtle things that you may or may not notice when you're in the parks, and that is the Disney Parks background music. So much great stuff out there that really makes your Disney Parks visit so special, and we're going to hear all about it today from Michelle, who does such great research, so I can't wait to hear more about that. So Michelle, go ahead and tell us about Disney Parks background music.
All right. As you mentioned, this is the second in our series of the things that help create the magic that makes going to a Disney park so special for us. And so, as you said, it's background music, or as some people in the biz have called it, BGM. BGM. So, and you also mentioned a really important part of it. It's really subtle. It actually may go unnoticed, although I think in some regards, if it wasn't there, you'd notice it. But
that's
anyway,
true, actually, yeah.
Right?
I agree with you.
But it is really an integral part of the experience the guests have there. It really can help immerse you into your Disney experience and into a world of fantasy. So, kind of going back at the history of it, obviously Walt Disney was a filmmaker. And so when he worked with his Imagineers on the theme park design, he really looked at it as in terms of how would you create a movie, right? And so just like a movie, music, he felt would be critical to ensure that the story is consistent and has all the elements to support storytelling. So, when it was first opened, they had actually that supporting music background sometimes by live bands. They did have some pre-recorded soundtracks to help kind of transition you into areas. So like going into through Sleeping Beauty Castle and into Fantasyland, guests were provided the music of When You Wish Upon a Star. In Frontierland, you might hear a banjo playing, and then jungle sounds to have the foreshadowing of Adventureland. So, it really has a basis from the start of when the first Disney park opened. Then it kind of evolved in the 60s, where they started including background music in some of the queues. And they actually involved Buddy Baker. He's most famous for the Grim Grinning Ghost song, to help create some arrangements throughout the parks and their queues, etc. And so one of them that is, pretty for us, something that we've heard before, is the Swiss Kapolka, I think is the name of
yes.
it, in the queue over at the Swiss Family Treehouse. And during the Christmas season, they would change that music to being more like seasonal carols, which kind of makes sense because that was also in the movie where it was Christmas time in the movie Swiss Family Robinson.
They were just caroling there on the island as they're in the treehouse. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So anyways, that concept of having seasonal music then still exists today. We've talked about some of that in the past, like especially in Cars Land during Halloween time, where they convert some of the music, and that can be heard also during the holiday seasons of Christmas time on Main Street, USA.
Oh, yeah, definitely there. I mean, as a matter of fact, you can find all sorts of, holiday loops if you go out there on some of the YouTube channels and such. Yeah,
most definitely. So, just kind of summarize what is the role of background music? And, as we mentioned, it supports telling a story or supports the show experience. But it also brings the guest into the show. So you're not just watching, you're feeling a part of it. You're experiencing it yourself. It's bringing you on a journey or creating that magic for you. And it also serves a purpose of stimulating your senses, to create those feelings and memories and ultimately nostalgia that you can associate with the park.
Yeah. I think we learned something really interesting when we were on one of the tours at the parks, and they were talking about the way Walt sees you entering the parks and exiting the parks, and how much that he wanted to be like a movie type experience. So much so that when you walk down Main Street USA and you see the names in the windows,
right,
that was like the opening credits
exactly,
for who
yes,
built this park and these lands and everything. And then of course that would go with soundtrack as well. And then when you left the park going again back through Main Street USA, it's like the closing credits,
right,
essentially. So really interesting perspective on how the parks were built.
Right. So, it's interesting for those of you who listen. Tom and I do not share what we're going to talk about in detail of our podcast episodes, but that was a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is listening to some of the background music, starting with some of the entrances. So like Disneyland main entrance, just as you passing through the gates, there's instrumental music from Disney films and, giving hints to some of the attractions that you're going to experience at the park. It's the area where you often see people getting together to get pictures taken by the iconic Mickey display under the train station. So let's listen to some of that. So who hasn't started their day at the parks and hearing that or something similar in the loop that really just got the excitement going for you of what is going to be a special day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always it's the announcement that you've arrived. Essentially, you
right?
See the train station, you see the Mickey or now Minnie little
right,
garden area there, the flower setting. And it's just, yes, the excitement begins, essentially.
Right. And that then flows immediately into Main Street USA. So as you're listening to that music, hopefully you can even feel that emotion that you experience as you're going down Main Street USA. Even if you've been there so many times, it's still something that's really special, and that you can take in. And it's just accentuated with that music of like small town USA Main Street. And what a great way to start your day.
Exactly what Walt pictured for Main Street USA. And it's there every time you walk down it.
Right.
Right down the middle of Main Street USA.
That's right.
Different song. But yes, it's there. It definitely has that feeling, and that includes the background music like you just heard. Yeah.
And I'm sure you all have experienced, like we do, is that it's, when you're going through it, the loop, you're hearing different songs. So some songs may draw your attention more than others, and they have updated with songs, for example, from the film Up. And so it's just, there's some newness to it still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you said, even changing it for a holiday time.
Right.
So it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Exactly. So the next entrance music that I wanted to cover here, we're not going to go through all of them, but this one was kind of a unique story that I ran across, and it related to Disney Hollywood Studios in 2018, where they were updating some of the background music of Hollywood Studios Park. The Imagineers really wanted to plan an adaptive background score that kind of evolved as you went from Hollywood Boulevard to the hub at Hollywood Studios. So as you enter the park, the swing music puts you, like they said, this is what they described, puts you firmly into the 1930s jazz era. But as you move towards the iconic Chinese theater in the hub, the sounds of the score transport you more into the 40s, kind of in the heyday of Hollywood. And so to accomplish this, they had to record the tracks separately or twice into the loop and have that really subtle variation as you're going down that you might not really hear it. And I think we have a little bit here to play now. As a bonus to our newsletter subscribers, we are going to send you a link to where you can actually have a slide bar of that soundtrack and see from the 30s to the 40s kind of evolving in that sound piece.
Which we did right there, and it's very subtle. Yeah, you may not really notice it so much, but I think you can kind of sense that the band sound become a little richer, a little deeper. It's slightly different as it progresses.
Right, it's kind of like bigger.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more music to it, but yeah, that it was progressing. Apparently, from the 30s, I would not have. If you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have picked it out. But listening back to it, I can sort of hear it.
Right. Yeah, where it's just, I guess the word subtle to bigger is the easiest way to describe it. But yeah, if you really listen for it, and again, background music being subtle, it's building, and it's supporting that story that you're going, when you're entering up to the Chinese theater, that building up to the 40s and the heyday of Hollywood is happening for you.
So cool. They thought that out, and two different orchestras and everything, and then, but still made them sync up. So you don't notice really the difference, but it's there.
Exactly. And that's something that I noticed throughout my research for today's episode is that what we really take for granted at the park is something that Disney's company puts a lot of time and effort into. It's not just kind of slapped together in there. It really is purposeful. It's updated to keep it fresh at times, and they use talent and unique aspects involving the Imagineers into how to make this even better.
For sure. And it makes your day, for sure. And like you said, you may not even notice it.
Right. So, obviously an area that is well known for background music that I think by everybody is Epcot Center. And so, wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things of how that helps with storytelling, helps with the experience. Now, one of the things in recent years that Disney has done is started adding some instrumental sounds from their films into the country's pavilions background music. So, for example, in Mexico, you can hear some renderings of songs from Coco and the Three Caballeros. In China, there's some Mulan tunes. In France, you might pick up Hunchback of Notre Dame songs, as well as Beauty and the Beast. So it's and obviously now with Ratatouille, that we have some sounds in the background music to support that storytelling as well. So why don't we take a listen at some of these? As you can see with all three of those examples, it definitely fits the theming of each of those pavilions. It doesn't shout at you. You know, you might go by and not notice it, but then again, it might get in your head a little bit, or even in your kid's head.
Yes.
And again, creating that beginning of nostalgia forming.
Yeah, and it's easy to pick out here because we're playing the songs and we're just sitting here quietly and listening to the songs. And so obviously it's louder than it would normally be in the parks. There's not a lot of people shuffling around and, you know, trying to pinpoint where they're going next, and et cetera. So it stands out. But when you're actually in the parks, it's there, and you may notice if you really listen, but it's more often than not, you're only going to catch nuances of it when you're out there. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just really fun to see how they've, you know, put so much thought into this. Like I said just a second ago, it's not that they're, you know, just putting something together to have music in the background. That it's much more thoughtful and planned out, and it just flows.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the things I love about it. And I do like, you know, I know there's this dispute on, especially in Epcot, of IP, no IP. I have no problem, especially if it blends in with the theming. It's the characters that you would find in these lands, and the fact that it is subtly there, I think is a great thing.
Right. I mean, all these things, as they come together to create magic, whether you're talking about, you know, landscape, or in this case, background music, you know, you could think of like the smells that come together. These are all building together into your experience. And again, whether it's just for yourself or if you're with family and kids, etc., that it's something that lingers. And when you go back, you remember it again, you experience that again, maybe at a different time in your life, and have that feeling of, oh gosh, I remember when our family went, you know, 6 years ago, and it was just tremendous. And again, these are subtle cues that can tap in on those feelings for you.
For sure. No question about it.
Yeah. So background music isn't limited to the parks. They also play a role in helping create those same kind of experiences and feelings when you're visiting one of their resorts. And, you know, a couple of our favorites, and they're very different styles, it relates to the Riviera and the Caribbean beach. So different in sound, but still totally bringing you into that immersive, taking you away from your regular world and into a new journey into a new land. The Riviera, this music really does support storytelling. We've been there, and we stopped and had like a cocktail, but they also have like a great little coffee pastry shop area where you can just have a little something, people watch, and just really feel like you're transported.
Right, and the jazz sound there, it's reminiscent of what that theming is for that resort, which is Walt's trips to the Mediterranean with his wife Lily, and experiencing aboard cruise ships and having that kind of music, that kind of era music playing in the background. And yes, again, still a little theming there. It's When You Wish Upon a Star played in jazz.
Right. And obviously they do have other songs that are not associated with films in there. I love how, and we didn't hear it quite as much here, there's other parts of the loop that you can hear different instruments that we tend to associate more with Europe, whether you're talking accordion, we heard a little bit there with clarinet and things, that you kind of think historically, of that French Riviera, romantic kind of theming, and that it's just there to help. Again, I'm saying it over, just produce those feelings for you.
Build the story for sure.
Right. And as I mentioned, another one that is really cool is Caribbean Beach. So again, that talk about setting the mood, creating the setting, that is a tropical vacation ready to happen.
Yeah, steel drums and everything. You just feel like you've been transported to the islands for sure. Right.
Very lively, fun, just a joyous time for your vacation.
For sure. Party waiting to happen.
Exactly. So going on with the concept of background music with the resort hotels, I ran across a really interesting story behind the creation of the background music over at Disneyland Paris Resort at their Disney Hotel New York, The Art of Marvel. And in that story, it was really interesting to see that they had interviewed the associate music producer, and I hope I can say his name correctly. It's Navid Desfoli. And he really shared some insight into the process of how they came to produce what he said was 75 minutes of music for the hotel's lobby and corridors. So I'm not going to go through the whole interview, just some highlights. But for example, when he was asked, what is the musical concept for Disney's Hotel New York, The Art of Marvel? He explained that the stage is a contemporary art gallery dedicated to Marvel. He said it's the first time they've taken iconic music from Marvel movies and presented them in a new light. He went on to say it was important for us to produce some music that was true to Marvel films and characters, but that they couldn't use the original soundtracks because they were designed specifically for the films. So in order to adapt it, what they did was looked at what he calls chill hop style music, which is very connected with the concept of New York's culture right now, and said, this fresh approach to hip hop and jazz with catchy patterns and even a little humor at times felt perfect for the musical arrangements to go along with this theming with Marvel in the city of New York. So I thought it was kind of really interesting how a new approach had to go for this theme that people could still associate with the films and still fulfill what is needed for this resort.
That's interesting. I'd love to hear what that's all about when we hopefully someday, before too long, get to go out to Disneyland Paris and check out that hotel for ourselves.
Right. So he was asked, how did you select the artists who would be a part of the project? And he said, we partnered with renowned chill hop artists and producers who could bring their own singular sounds and unique style and identity to the project, all while adhering to the musical themes we know and love. The team, he said, I can't say that, can I? Collaborated on a particularly appealing reinterpretation of Michael Giacchino's theme for Spider-Man Far From Home. Bureaucratic, a New York-based music producer, brought a stylish hip-hop twist to Brian Tyler's Iron Man theme. And he said, although the artists lived in different countries, they came together to bring different cultures to richness and diversity of their story, which is what we do see throughout that concept. So the last piece of the interview that I wanted to share with you is that he was asked, what emotions did you want to convey through the music? And he said, much like an attraction, we wanted to immerse our guests into the world of Marvel. Doing so with the themes from the films was a creative imperative. That being said, he went on to say, we didn't want the themes to be too visible. A hotel experience is still different from an attraction, and the music should be more in the background. We wanted to add to the experience, not to be the focus of the attention.
Yeah, well, that's what this whole background music thing is about, is that, a lot of times it's not supposed to be the focus. They have other areas where they want the music to be the focus of their shows, their fireworks displays, etc. This is just supposed to be something that just kind of helps tell the story as you go along, but you may not notice it.
Exactly. And again, it's just, to me, very amazing to see how much talent is brought together to create a loop for a hotel background music. I mean, again, it's not just somebody, with a soundboard taking clips of music from films, etc. It's thought out, it's produced, it's created for a particular purpose. And again, like he said, taking artists from all over the world. Just wanted to kind of round off our discussion of background music at looking some of the more unique styles that have been incorporated. And so one of those is at the park, Pandora. They have a segment in their walkthrough that really talk about transporting you to another place. So, I mean, that, again, just background music that you hear. And one of the other things that we didn't really go into, but this is the kind of things that you're also experiencing when you're in the shops. So for example, when you're visiting this land, you might not notice it because you're focused on what are the things elements and things for sale in the shop, which are obviously unique looking too. But that's going on there. Again, all supporting that theming that, again, if it wasn't there, you probably would notice it more.
Yeah, and it's part of it why it's such an immersive land. The fact that, as you were hearing there, I mean, yes, you kind of have that drum and that just that light music there, but it's also the ambiance of the animal sounds
Right.
and the trees blowing in the wind
Right.
essentially and everything. It makes you feel like you've been transported into this
Exactly.
interesting, unique space.
Right. So, very cool. Another interesting or more unique concept of use of background music you can actually experience in the restroom, or as they're called, refreshers at Batu. They're playing pretty much the soundtrack from Olga's Cantina, those songs, but it's done as a radio station style, and in fact it's radio station BSO 401.72. So if you're ever in Batu or Galaxy's Edge and in the restroom, you might take notice of the fact that you're getting that radio soundtrack in the back, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, BSO for Black Spire Outpost, by the way. Just to know where that's from. But yeah, it is. I find the refreshers very refreshing and interesting whenever we visit Black Spire Outpost.
Yeah, total theming. So, and I wanted to throw in a nostalgic piece of background music from Journey into Imagination Pavilion. So yeah, I mean, we couldn't do a segment on background music with having something nostalgic. That's, as I mentioned, from Journey into the Imagination, the theme song from Magic Journeys done by the Sherman Brothers, which is, just so lovely. And I know people at times say, they keep changing these things. And yes, change is inevitable. But the other thing is, a couple things, I guess, not trying to sound on a soapbox, but one, as we found this music online, anybody can find these sounds online. There's actually radio stations dedicated to Disney's background music. But I mean, it's fun too to have new, fresher things so it doesn't get old, and we create new memories, new nostalgias with some of these updates. So.
It's always finding that balance between what you love from the past and wanting to remember that and having that nostalgia like you talked about, but also incorporating the newness into it. And you said it perfectly. Getting these new memories, and especially for the kids that may embrace some of these the newer, the more recently influenced background music, more recently influenced songs from the films that they may appreciate a little bit more. So finding that clever balance it's tough, but Disney does a pretty good job of it.
Exactly. So, and then just I wanted to bring up in Epcot, there's a couple places that have some real Zen background music. So if you're ever feeling like you need to relax a little bit, these are the places you can kind of head towards. The first one is from China. Sometimes, one of my favorite experiences at Epcot is going over to China when there's not like a show going on or a character meet and greet there. They have the seating outside near the water that you can go, and there's little waterfalls in the background as well, that just looking at, your whole surrounding, where you're at, just feeling that immersion and having that really Zen music playing can really, again, talk about transport you to another land, but also just give you an opportunity to just stop and appreciate what you're experiencing right then and there, and not have all those other emotions or feeling rushed to go see something or whatever, but just taking a moment to relax and have a brilliant experience.
Yeah, just getting that little mental break in the day every once in a while for 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
Even.
Yeah. And similarly, over at the Japan Pavilion. So same thing there in Japan. They do have, whether you want to sit outdoors and look out at the rock Zen garden or walk through the little areas with the bridges and things in the back of that pavilion, just to, again, enjoy your day, stop from all the hustle and bustle, and take the time to, feel the amazing magic that's there.
Yeah, I mean, they built these lands and they made them special for each different culture that they're within. And, part of that, and within China, within Japan, is that moments of Zen, that moments of just reflection and relaxation. And I think too, it's almost a way to honor those cultures by taking your moments yourself and doing that while you're there.
Right. Well, if you go back to the concept when Walt was creating Disneyland, and especially with the idea of Jungle Cruise, and I know that has evolved differently, but originally he was trying to recreate experiences for people who wouldn't have gotten a chance to travel far and see, what is it like to be, in the depths of the jungles of the Nile or whatever. And he was the one that created the concept of Epcot and wanted the appreciation, like you said, of cultures and everything. And so it really is designed to allow you to do that. Yes, can you go around and just, enjoy the food, enjoy the shops and some with attractions or meet and greets? Yes, but it's also affording you, if you want to take the time, to really just appreciate, your little moments of being transported to those other countries.
Yeah, a little piece of being around the world. There's some countries that, let's be honest, we may never visit in our lifetime. But you can get a little nuance, a little piece of that right there within World Showcase.
That's right. So, lastly here, I just wanted to, share with you that it is fun to find creative ways to enjoy your own unique experience enhanced by background music. I've given you a few of them. One of my other really favorite things to do is go to the France Pavilion early, like early in the morning. I mean, in the morning, most people are rushing to go see Frozen Ever After, so it doesn't get quite as busy.
That includes me. Somebody else there by herself.
I know. That's so true. So true. But anyways, just to take a moment, go pick up either a cappuccino or a mimosa and a croissant, and then grab a chair at one of those little tables and just soak up the experience of our memories of when we've gone to France, and really getting to appreciate that background music. that really makes me want to actually go to our local French bakery and pick up some croissants and, maybe mix up a mimosa here a little bit and listen to that soundtrack again and actually feel transposed to Epcot.
There you go. We can pretend we're in Epcot right here in our own living room.
Right, exactly. So,
which is like pretending like you're in France.
Right.
In Orlando.
I know. But see, both of those places, France or Epcot, are fun places to be.
That is true.
Do you have a favorite thing that you like to do at the parks, honey, that involves background music to enhance it, or just are there some things that really come to mind when you're listening to background music?
No, I mean, I love Main Street USA. I mean, I just feel that that sets the tone for me, is going down Main Street USA and hearing that kind of older music that sets that small town USA feel to it. That just speaks to me. Moving into Adventureland and kind of having the drum sound and you feel like you're ready for adventure, essentially. Frontierland, more of a country western type sound. But I'm going to tell you one that's recent for me that was like a big deal for me. And that was when we went to Avengers Campus for opening day. And we had such a struggle getting into there because it was a little bit of a mess that day trying to get into that land, but we figured it out. And when we got in there, immediately as we walked into Avengers Campus through at that time they were barricading and only letting certain people in at certain times. So like I said, it was a little bit of a to-do. We get in, showed our credentials, get into, and then the Avengers theme kicked in right as we walked in. It couldn't have been more perfect. It was the utmost of background music telling the story as we walked into Avengers Campus. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, I remember that. You're so right at describing that. And I remember actually getting choked up about it, that it just, and maybe because it was actually more challenging getting there than our first time going to Galaxy's Edge. And maybe that emotional buildup as well. But that was definitely, with the music kind of like heralding us in, was definitely more, actually very more memorable.
Right. And I love the Avengers theme anyway. I mean, at any time it kicks in one of their trailers, it just brings me chills every single time. So yeah, like you were mentioning, the difficulties, the hoops we had to jump through on that day to actually get into Avengers Campus on opening day. There was a point when we were like, well, we don't even know if we're going to get, we didn't make all this effort and we don't even know for sure we're going to get in. So us actually getting in there and then this theme striking right as we walked in, it was perfect. It couldn't have worked out better, and it's a memory I'll always have. I do also like the theming and the background noise and music that they have at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge as well. Especially, I mean, the music is extremely subtle, but it's there. But even just the sound of the ships flying by, it all sets the tone to being into that land.
Yeah, you definitely believe you're there. Yeah. So, anyways, that's kind of our look back. I mean, I'd love to play a lot more background music for people. I know everybody tends to love that, but we've gone on so long today. Anyways, but we would love to hear about your experiences or things that you tend to either gravitate towards, or some things that are most memorable to you that involve the background music really accentuating that, and just to remind all of you that next time you're at the parks, you take a moment to really listen and recognize the value of how that background music is making you feel, and appreciate how that stimulation, of your sense of sound is really helping your experience be more magical. And we'd love to hear about it.
Definitely. Do you have a moment like we had with Avengers Campus that really stands out to you? Maybe turned a day around and it was partially inspired by the music, or maybe fully inspired by the music, or is there just some friendly, happy memory that you have when you've heard these sounds? We'd love to hear from them, and we'll share them in an upcoming show.
Exactly.
So great job, Michelle. Always does the best research for sure. Can't wait for the next edition of Creating Disney Magic. But great job, sweetheart.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hope people enjoyed it.
I'm sure I did. That's for sure. I always learn something new.
Thanks.
And that is our look at creating Disney magic, Disney parks, background music. thanks again, sweetheart. Great job looking
Thank
into
you.
background music. Disney Parks background music always sets the tone, and we love it so very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Good job. So before we get into our Disney stories of the week, as you know, we've got this madness going on right now. Yes, it's basketball is actually happening right now, but also we've been having going on for the last few weeks our Hyperion Adventures podcast, Disney Songs Madness. And it's time to tell you who is advanced to the next round, to the Elite 8 round of our bracket. So get yours out and follow along, because remember, whoever has the most points at the end of this is going to win our prize package. Nice. And this week, you know, the points accumulate. They get more so as you get through the round. So the first round winners, those were worth 1 point. The second round winners, those are worth 2 points. Now these are worth 4 points.
Wow.
So it really is important to get your winners through here. So let's go ahead and go through the bracket here. And I'm going to start with in our Sweet 16 matchup between When You Wish Upon a Star, the number 1 seed, and Be Our Guest, the number 3 seed. This is in the Classic Songs animated bracket, of course. Michelle, did you have one of those songs advancing?
Yes. I feel surprisingly at this point when I have one that's still in the category at all. And I did have When You Wish Upon a Star advancing.
And I had the number 3 seed, Be Our Guest, advancing. And that was the famous. It was a close one.
What?
But Be Our Guest, the 3 seed, did advance to the Elite 8. And that song will square off against our other Sweet 16 matchup. And this is from our live action films between the number 4 seed, Rainbow Connection, and the 3 seed, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Michelle, did you have one of those songs advancing?
I did not.
Yes, I did, but I did not choose the correct one. I had Rainbow Connection advancing, but no, it is Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, the 3 seed, moving on. And so that sets up an Elite 8 matchup between the 2 3 seeds out of that bracket, between the, of course, 1 3 seed for animated films, 1 3 seed for live action films. It'll be Be Our Guest versus Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious in the Elite 8. Moving on to the bottom part of that bracket, the fun songs part of that bracket, into the Sweet 16 matchup between A Whole New World, which was the number 8 seed, facing off against the 6 seed. This is like the Cinderella battle here of You're Welcome from Moana. Michelle, did you have one of those songs advancing?
No, I did not.
I don't blame you. We weren't really expecting those songs to be there, and I didn't expect them to be there either. So I didn't have one of those songs advancing either. But we do have one of those songs advancing, as they have to do, and that was the 6 seed, You're Welcome from Moana.
All right.
Yes. So that was the animated portion of the bracket. Now going to the live action portion of that same bracket. In the Sweet 16 matchup, we have the number 1 seed, Step in Time, versus the number 2 seed, Happy Little Working Song. Michelle, did you have one of those songs advancing?
Right, I sure did. I actually had both of those songs in that bracket, so woohoo!
Yes, me too.
But I had the number 1 seed, Step in Time, moving on.
As did I, and that is who advances.
Yay.
Step in Time from Mary Poppins, the number 1 seed, does advance to the Elite 8, and will square off against the 16 from Moana, You're Welcome. So that can't wait to see how that matchup turns out next week. Moving over to the other side, the East Coast of the bracket, to the Want songs. And again, with the animated films portion of the Sweet 16 matchup, we have the number 2 seed, I See the Light from Tangled, squaring off against the number 8 seed, Let It Go from #RealMenLoveFrozen. Michelle, did you have one of those songs advancing in your bracket?
I did not. What about you?
Well, as we all know, #RealMenLoveFrozen. I actually had both those songs in that made it through to that category, and I did have the correct song advancing.
Wow.
It is Let It Go from #RealMenLoveFrozen. Moving on. And that was, and again, they were an 8 seed, so a little bit of a Cinderella there.
Yes.
And that song will square off against one of the songs from the live action portion of the Want Songs category, and that is between the number 1 seed, Strong, from the live-action Cinderella, squaring off against Man or Muppet, the 3 seed from the Muppets. Michelle, did you have one of those songs advancing?
I did. Actually, that was one of the brackets that I did well so far. I'm not sure if mine's going through, but the one that I did pick was number 1, Strong.
And I had neither of those songs in my bracket. Neither of them made it through for me, so I didn't have a choice of who would make it through. But yes, you are correct. Strong, from the live action Cinderella, the 1 seed, did make it through, and it will square off in the Elite 8 matchup next week against Let It Go, the 8th seed.
Sweet.
Finally, moving down to the Heart Songs bracket, and we'll start again with the animated films. It was the number 1 seed, Baby Mine, from Dumbo, going up against the number 2 seed, Remember Me, the Miguel version from Coco. Michelle, did you have one of those songs advancing?
I did not. I did have Baby Mine in my bracket, but I didn't have that one to move on.
And I did not have either of those songs. I did not pick either of those songs to make it through. So obviously I did not pick correctly. But the song that does advance through is the number 2 seed, Remember Me, the Miguel version from Coco. And it'll square off against one of these songs from the live action portion of the bracket, between the number 2 seed, Feed the Birds, from Mary Poppins, and the number 6 seed, Speechless, from the live action Aladdin. Michelle, did you have one of those songs moving on?
I sure did. I had Feed the Birds from Mary Poppins moving on.
And I had both those songs in that category, and I also had Feed the Birds advancing, and that is exactly who is advancing. Yay. Feed the Birds from Mary Poppins. The number 2 seed will go up against, it's another battle of the same seeds. 2 seed of Feed the Birds versus a 2 seed of Remember Me from Coco, and that will happen next week. And so next week we will wrap this all up, since it will be the last weekend in March. We want to finish off our Disney songs madness bracket. So we'll tell you who makes the final 4, who makes the final 2, and who is the champion all next week. So be prepared. You're going to want those brackets ready for next week. So again, it's so fun. I'm so glad we've been doing this, and had a great time going through these brackets every single week.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody who was participating in it as well.
Now we get to the Disney stories of the week. I do have a few for you this week. We'll start with, there's a new Disney Vacation Club opportunity coming to the Walt Disney World Resort that we learned about this week. This is actually from Forbes.com, of all places. They said Disney has announced a new expansion for the popular Disney's Polynesian Village Resort that will bring more Disney Vacation Club villas to the popular location.
Yay.
Yeah. The expansion for the resort will be located between the existing footprint of Disney's Polynesian Village Resort and Disney's Wedding Pavilion, and is set to open in late 2024. Disney's Wedding Pavilion, of course, over at the Grand Floridian, if you're kind of trying to figure out where that all is. However, Disney fans will notice that this location is also the location of the once Spirit of Aloha dinner show. Of course, the luau that used to be there, which is now, unfortunately, permanently closed. Wah, wah.
I know.
You got to see it once, didn't you?
I actually got to see it several times, and they used to, maybe not used to. One of the times I saw it was actually indoors, I think because it was raining, and they brought it inside. It's still beautiful.
I've seen many a luau with you, but never saw that one. We had actually plans before the pandemic happened to.
That was going to be for our June trip in 2020.
Right. Get set to go see the show there, and it closed down, and unfortunately it looks like it's not to return unless they find a new location for it, but looks like it will not be happening now. As far as the new building, it's looks a little like what they were planning for over what was Reflections over at the the area that was between the Fort Wilderness and Wilderness Lodge. One point, the building looks somewhat similar. They may have, we've kind of already got this concept plan. Let's move it over there. We'll just kind of, add a little nuance to it to make it fit within the Polynesian Village Resort there.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's great for people who want to have the Poly as their home and haven't had a chance to do that in the past. So,
and, I there's more information yet to come about this resort, but it looks like they'll probably add some suites there as well, which if you've stayed at the Polynesian, you using your DVC points, they don't have any suites. It's all studios there. So having that ability as well would be good. So,
Right.
They also will house several more recreation and dining options apparently in that spot. So looking forward to seeing what comes of that. And if it's going to be your ability to buy into the Polynesian if you don't already. It's already one of our home resorts.
Right.
But,
But like you said, there isn't the opportunity to have a suite there, or have where you have the kitchen available to you. I mean, in the studios, they have the little space that has
little kitchenette area.
Little kitchenette area. But it would be great to be able to stay at the Polynesian in a 1-bedroom or so.
Mm-hmm. If the opportunity struck you.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking forward to that.
Yep. Looking forward to finding more about it as it progresses and still pouring one out for the Spirit of Aloha.
Yeah.
Show. So anyway, moving on. If you've always wanted to learn how to draw your favorite Disney characters at home, well, we have some good news for you. This from Collider.com. We have all sorts of sources today. On Wednesday, Disney announced a very exciting new series for those who are fond of both animation and drawing, a co-partnership between Supper Club and Walt Disney Animation Studios. Sketchbook is an instructional 6-part documentary which will educate viewers on the intimate process involved in bringing characters to life on the paper. And this will be on Disney Plus coming up soon.
That's so cool. It's kind of funny because my tip is going to be talking about animation.
Oh, cool.
I know.
There you go. Interesting. The story went on to say, in each episode of Sketchbook, one of 6 experienced Disney artists will be the audience's drawing instructor. While telling their own inspiring personal stories, the artists will give viewers their insider's perspective into the process of animation and guide them through the process of drawing some of Disney's most beloved characters. Each of the artists will be choosing a single iconic character that they either helped bring to life or that inspired them to pursue a career in animation at Walt Disney Studios. As the trailer shows, each episode feels like its own intimate masterclass in which the artists impart their wisdom, teach the skill they love, and also play a role of storytellers. And the artists featured in each episode are Gabby Kapili, Hyunmin Lee, Eric Goldberg, Jin Kim, Samantha Vilfort, and Mark Henn. And Sketchbook is coming exclusively, as I said, to Disney Plus beginning on April 27th. So just a little over a month away.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be great. I love it when they incorporate the story of the person involved in this, as well as what they do for the company. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and learning what inspires them and the process and everything while you're still learning to draw. I mean, that what's interesting is that you can, if you want to try and draw along with them and learn how to do this, they'll be there for you. But they have these stories that are going to go along with them. So even if you don't want or don't feel like you have the skill to draw these characters, you just want to absorb what they're talking about. That's great too. And it'll also be great for families. Maybe the kids want to try and draw and the parents just want to take in the entire show.
Right, exactly.
So I love this concept.
I do too.
And I can't wait to check it out on Disney Plus.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah. Finally, we wrap up our Disney stories of the week with we received some information about several of the onboard dining activities that will be offered when Disney Cruise Line's newest ship debuts this summer. Yes, lots of stuff to go through here. This from the Disney Cruise Line blog. Again, not affiliated with Disney Cruise Line, but he does a great job of getting you Disney Cruise Line information on this blog. You should definitely check it out when you get the chance or if you have a Disney cruise plan. His story said the maiden voyage of the Disney Wish is finally on the horizon as guests are now able to pre-book onboard activities and port adventures. So that means we get a sneak peek at what they will be offering for these sailings coming up. We'll start with some of the adult dining options, which we will be very interested in because we know there's a couple new adult dining spots there. One that is similar to those aboard other ships. Another that is very new. So these options will be Palo Steakhouse and Enchanté. So we'll start with Palo Steakhouse, and of course they will be offering brunch there, which we love Palo brunch. I'm sure Palo Steakhouse brunch will be great as well. They say it'll cost each guest $45, and it will feature a medley of Italian dishes with a modern twist. Choose from a selection of classic breakfast items, including eggs Benedict, savory frittatas, and gourmet pancakes and waffles. And for the lunch side of brunch, classes such as the chicken parmigiana and the lasagna will be available. So it sounds very similar to what you would normally get on a Palo brunch, which we love. So that's very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. As for Palo Steakhouse dinner, the dinner experience will also cost guests $45 or a la carte, either way. The adult exclusive dinner will offer a variety of premium steaks and Italian dishes off the a la carte menu, starting with a tasty appetizer such as an artfully prepared antipasti, soft potato gnocchi, or a frito di calamari, which I love all those things. The menu will feature fresh pasta, seafood, along with a selection of steaks and chops. Guests will also have an option to try the Fix menu, which includes an appetizer, salad, entree, and dessert. There's also the Esperienza del Vino, which is a wine pairing addition to the menu. You can enhance your dining experience for an additional fee of $59 per person. The wine pairing will feature a selection of 5 Palo Steakhouse dishes, including dessert, matched with the perfect Italian wine. So that will be the $45 plus the $59 on top of that if you want to go that way.
Right. But 5-course meal and wine associated with it is pretty great.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Speaking of sounding pretty good to me, Enchanté by Chef Arnaud Lallemant. That is going to be exceptional, and I can't wait to check that out. They say Enchanté will offer the most luxurious dining experience on board, featuring a gourmet menu crafted by 3 Michelin-starred chef Arnaud Lallemant. I hope I'm selling his name right.
Sure.
One of the culinary masterminds behind the French-inspired fine dining experience at Remy aboard the Disney Dream and Disney Fantasy, which we've enjoyed a couple times ourselves. So there will be 3 dining offerings there. There will be a brunch experience at Enchanté, which will cost each guest $75 and will be a one-of-a-kind brunch experience in the most luxurious venue on the Disney Wish. Guests will be able to indulge in delectable French cuisine as you take in beautiful ocean views. Yeah. There's also the dessert experience at Enchanté, which will cost each guest $60. Guests will experience a 5-course dessert menu. 5 desserts, wow. Coffee and in-depth discussion with executive chef and executive pastry chef of Enchanté. As each dessert is presented, they'll explain the history and evolution of the dessert. That sounds cool.
Yeah. I think they do similar, right now on the other ships in Remy. So that sounds yummy.
Yeah, very similar in those ways. They also will have the dinner experience at Enchanté, which will cost each guest $125 and will be primarily offered as a Fix experience that includes multiple gourmet courses from Chef Arnaud's curated tasting menus. Or you can also enjoy any of Enchanté's specialties a la carte to create a one-of-a-kind dining experience just for you. And for an additional charge, Enchanté offers a stellar wine list in addition to a wine pairing option. Again, sounds similar to Remy in what they're offering there, but I can't wait to experience. The one thing about Remy is they have it kind of half French, half American. This sounds like it's going to go full bore French, and I'm excited to check it out for sure.
Yeah. It's so hard to put into words what that experience is like.
No, you can't describe it. You
really
can say it, but it just doesn't, until you've actually experienced it, it won't click with you. It won't.
Right. But it really is, like we talk about journeys and things like that. It's just such a different type of dining experience. It's not just like, oh, here's your food and you're eating, and then the next course comes out and you're eating that. First of all, there's, the interaction with the wait staff that are describing all that is brought together into to make each of those courses. And just the food is so unique, so brilliantly prepared, and the tastes are amazing. And it really, it's hokey to say, but it just is such a different type of actual experience. It's not just where you're going to eat.
It's the service, it's the presentation, it is the food and the flavor of the food and how they put these flavors together. It's incredible. And this is just going from the experience of Remy. I'm sure Enchanté will be very similar to Remy in that regard. Is it expensive? Yes, it's really, really expensive, but it's if you can afford it, it is worth.
Right.
I found it very much worth that price that you pay for it. It's
Right.
an experience that you will never ever forget. It may be a one time ever that you do it, but if you can save up for it, whatever, it is worth trying this one time in your life.
Right.
It's incredible.
Right. I mean, it does not even come close to any other great dining experience. Like even if you go to, some really wonderful restaurants within the parks or the resorts, this is just so elevated from that experience, and it's not fast. I mean, it's several hours long that you're experiencing this and you're enjoying it.
Yeah, for sure. It's very similar to people have talked for years about Victoria and Albert's, of course, and how wonderful that is,
Right.
and also expensive dining experience, but
Right.
just an over the top dining experience. By the way, we did receive news this week that Victoria and Albert's is getting set to reopen, so
Yeah.
that's good news as well. But I digress. Back to the Disney Wish. We also received some news on their beverage tasting seminars, which are always fun when you're on
Right.
board. Here are the various things they're going to be offering on board, and these will be similar to what you've experienced on many of the other Disney cruise ships if you've been on them, and they range from $40 all the way up to $100. So it depends on which one you're booking, but they have beer tasting, bourbon tasting, champagne tasting, cognac, martinis, wine, rum, whiskey, gin, and of course mixology, where they're making mixed drinks.
Right.
Here's the $100 ones, which I find kind of fascinating if you're kind of into these kind of beverages.
Right.
One is a premium bourbon tasting that'll be $100. They say for the true whiskey and whiskey connoisseur, our expert bartenders will guide you through a selection of high-end bourbons and whiskeys from our reserve collection. Tastings include some of the most unique and rare selections from around the world, including Europe, Japan, and the United States. Now, we are not necessarily bourbon aficionados, but we know some.
Right.
And they would probably love this because, high-end bourbon can be extremely expensive and rare and hard to sample. So this sounds like you're going to get yes, it's $100. Again, pricey, but you're going to get to try some things that some of these may be. We've run some of these tastings and you get a shot or a sip of something that would cost the same price as the tasting just alone for that one thing. You're getting 5 different things.
Right.
So.
And not all of the servings are necessarily small with these tastings. I think we could safely say that we do have a buzz on when we go to these tastings. They are fairly generous.
Don't do a couple of them back to back, or you're going to be sleeping the rest of the day away.
right, exactly. Or if you have like a really, you don't want to do a tasting on a day that you're going to go to a Remy's or Apollo's or something like that, because you might not get the same time.
Especially, like I said, especially if you're trying to do a couple of them, they'll catch up to you pretty quickly.
Right.
Sure.
But yeah, they're great, fun, and they are pretty generous in what they're giving you now. Right. It's not like a full-on serving, but you're getting so many more of them.
Right, and they explain it to you. You learn about all these different cocktails and mixes and whatever it may be. And you may find some things that you didn't know you loved before that may become something you love and want to order in the future. And that's true. Kind of the concept behind it. The other $100 tasting seminar is the World of Old Fashioned. And it comes... they say when it comes to creating the perfect old fashioned, there's a recipe to please nearly every palate, and therein lies its beauty. Whether tracing the cocktail back to its origins with a sugar cube and a splash of water, or taking a modern twist on the classic with simple syrup and bitters, you'll discover a highly enjoyable cocktail sure to delight all your senses. So again, kind of on the bourbon concept here. If you like old fashions, that may be another one you're going to want to try. Just experience all the different kind of versions of them. So very cool. So finally, one that calls out to me specifically, although unfortunately I don't think it's really for me, but we'll have to see about this. Anyway, like I said, all these are interesting, but here's one that I find really fascinating. It's something for the little ones aboard the Disney Wish, or the little ones at heart. Right. It's Olaf's Royal Picnic at Arendelle, a frozen dining adventure. This new twist on the Royal Tea Party is designed for children ages 3 to 12. I know. And will be offered on select days. Now, it's not cheap, okay?
Right.
We were talking about some expensive things here. This one is expensive as well. The experience will cost you $220 for each child between the ages of 3 and 12, and $69 for adults ages 13 and up. So
Right.
teens and adults. At Olaf's Royal Picnic, guests will interact with Olaf, Anna, Elsa, and Kristoff like never before and delight in live musical performances of beloved songs like Let It Go, Fixer Upper, and In Summer. And under the expert direction of Baroness Dagmar Birger, a lively lady-in-waiting for Queen Anna, castle staff will serve up delicious summer treats and picnic fare for the whole family to enjoy. The hall will be decked out in summer splendor just for the occasion with a canopy of colorful flowers among the festive decor. Children will receive an assortment of gifts and keepsakes, including a reversible troll plush, themed picnic blanket, and custom Nordic style mandolin, which I saw a picture of it. It's like a real mandolin.
Wow.
Which they will need for a special Reindeers Are Better Than People strum and sing along with Kristoff. What's more, from the royal proclamations to unexpected visitors, the show will be jam-packed with surprises worth melting for. Other gifts for children who attend will receive some Olaf headwear, which I believe is just a hat, but still.
Right.
Olaf, a cinch bag, water bottle, activity book, and troll necklace. Unfortunately, adult guests without a child accompanying them are not eligible for this event. You may need to rent a child
There you go.
to get in there. But no, I mean, again, it's expensive, but you're getting a lot of stuff for this and then another fun experience
Right.
that you can't really get anyplace else.
Right. And we know that the teas that they have right now on the current sailings are very popular. It's same kind of concept where the fee for the child is more than, I think, triple the adult fee, but they're getting so many gifts to walk away with. So if you're planning to buy souvenirs, that could be your way to do it. Go to one of these fun dining events and come back with a lot of swag that you can remember the cruise with.
Right. And I love the concept that they're doing kind of more of a picnic because, I mean, yeah, the kids may like the tea concept maybe, but everybody loves a picnic,
Right,
you know, and
yeah.
it makes sense with the summer feel and everything and Frozen. And this is going to be, it looks like a lot of fun. And yes, again, it's super expensive. It's not for everybody, but if you want to maybe a special celebration for your little one
Right.
who loves Frozen, and you know, if you add up all the gifts that come along with
Right.
this, along with the special intimate meet and greet with these characters and the sing-alongs and everything else, it's kind of a special day. It's kind of like the Remy or Enchanté
Right.
for the little one.
Right,
you know?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And if you're doing the cruise for like one of your kids' birthdays
Yeah.
or whatever, you know, and like you said, the concept of the picnic is just something that I think kids can feel more comfortable with. It doesn't at all have that air of being stuffy or anything like that. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the teas, and I think the teas with all the princesses and everything is a lovely experience. And this is just another offering that gives a little bit more broader, maybe interest and comfort for all the kids.
Right. It makes sense since they have the Arendelle dining
Right.
hall now, essentially, where they're going to be serving dinner there too.
Yes.
Since they have that venue that's ready
Right, that theme.
to fit right in with this, it just totally makes sense.
Yes.
So, very cool. So
Yeah.
that's it for the Disney stories of the week. However, we never leave you without giving you some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation. And when we do this, we always start with Michelle. One, because she does the best research, obviously, as you heard today. She has the best lists, but she definitely has the very best tips. So let's get to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
Well, thank you, sweetie. So my tip, as I mentioned earlier, does have to do with animation. And in going to the parks, and a great souvenir idea from a trip could be artwork created by your kids or even by yourself, and suitable for framing. If you have never experienced the animation opportunities that they do have at the parks, we really recommend that you take a moment to do that. It is something that I can see is often overlooked, but it's truly a fun activity. We've done it multiple times. And what it is, there is a Disney cast animator who will allow each person that's in the audience to follow along and draw. And it sounds a lot like what's going to be happening on the Disney Plus series coming up. But you get to learn how to draw a character. And we are not artistically
No,
inclined
not at all.
when it comes to drawing. I mean, we may have some other artistic flares to us, but not that. But we've actually come away feeling pretty good about some of our artwork. And, so again, it's a great free activity and souvenir. And so my tip is really more about the fact that you can prepare to bring this home safely if you want by, getting like a poster carrier or box that you bring with you. You can get these pretty inexpensive from office supply stores and then be able to safely bring that artwork. You can probably have one and put everybody's together into that one tube, or sometimes it's like a triangle. But anyways, so the locations for these fun activities can be found at Walt Disney World. They have this at it's called the Animation Experience at Conservation Station in Animal Kingdom Park. Then there's Animation Academy at Disney California Adventure Park, but they also have Animation Academy at Walt Disney Studios Park in Disneyland Paris and on Main Street USA in Disneyland Hong Kong. So again, a great way to have a fun activity during your visit there and to be able to walk away with a fun memento of your day at the park.
Mm-hmm. And they often do something similar at the Epcot International Festival of the Arts.
True,
they have
right.
that go on with you. So if you're at Epcot for that, you can also take advantage of some of those seminars where they show you how to draw certain characters as well.
Right, exactly.
But it's a lot of fun, and it's also a way in the day to, especially on a hot day, get out of the heat, sit down for a little bit, get the air conditioning, and still have a little fun and entertainment as you learn to draw these characters.
Right. And again, you'd feel bad if you or the kids did something that you felt really proud of and you can't transport it home safely. So those tube mailers are going to be what can save you there.
For sure. So. Great tip, Michelle's tip.
Thank you.
Always the best tip.
What about you, sweetie?
For my tip this week, I'm going to take you back since we were talking just a little bit about Disney Cruise Line and some of the adult dining options and so forth that are aboard there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the kids clubs. And yes, of course, aboard the ship. As you know, the kids clubs aboard the ship, the Oceaneer Lab, Oceaneer Club, are wonderful ways for the kids to get involved in different activities, meeting new friends, while you can go off and enjoy the dining options or the adult pool or so forth or whatever. And we're all about families when you're on Disney cruise ships, but every once in a while you want to have a little adult time as well. Well, that also progresses onto Castaway Cay. Now, of course, again, family time on Castaway Cay is great, but they also had this wonderful adult beach over on one part called Serenity Cove that you may want to go and visit for a little bit. Excuse me, Serenity Bay.
I was thinking of the
Quiet Cove pool. Serenity Bay, where you might want to go and play a little visit. Well, the good news is that these kids clubs carry over right onto Castaway Cay. If you want to, if you have your kids signed up, registered for the kids clubs, you can take them over to a space called Scuttle's Cove on Castaway Cay. And this is a kind of a cordoned off, secured area where the same counselors they get to know in the kids club aboard the ship are there and guiding them through activities there right on the beach at Castaway Cay. So you can kind of break away for a little bit if you so desire and get off to Serenity Bay for a little bit. And here's some of the activities they offer. Things like sandcastle building, Disney beach parties, sand soccer, water games, capture the flag, scavenger hunts, and if they're there for lunch, they'll even serve them lunch while you're there. So they can meet with the friends they've made in the clubs, have a good time there, and then you can break off maybe for an hour or so to Serenity Bay, or for as long as you want, depending on how much the kids want to enjoy this time. It's, again, we're all about family time, but we're also, this is your vacation. Do with it as you want. The kids are going to want to do their own thing sometimes. You're going to want to do your own thing sometimes. Take advantage of all these situations that are available for you.
Great tip, baby.
Yeah. And by the way, if you have some older kids that are teens, they also have a space there called the Teen Hideout, where I'm sure they will want to hang out more than they probably will with you anyway. So that is also available for you. So
awesome.
Yes. So that's it for this week. Next week, well, the Springtime Surprise Run Disney Race Weekend is coming up very, very soon. So we thought this would be a good time to get you set if you're attending either in person or in spirit, because we're going to be helping you out by providing you ideas for your running playlist that you may want, either when you're going to this race or another Run Disney race, or if you're just, deciding you want to run at home. We're going to be helping inspire you with our 5 favorite songs to add to your Run Disney playlist.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun topic.
So more music next week, and this should be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We have, well, I should talk about my running list. It's a little outdated at this point, needs some updating. So I'm looking forward to doing some of that research to enhance my running list.
There we go. Can't wait to go through
Yeah.
that. So, as for today's show, we appreciate that you joined us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
please sign up for the newsletter and you'll get that special link this week.
That special link. Yes, please sign up for the newsletter. It's just another way to be involved in the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. Another great way is to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you are on Facebook, come on over and join us for some good, positive Disney energy fun on our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group.
Yeah, and we love to hear from you, what things are you're doing right now, what Disney plans you have, and just sharing the fun.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be Disney, just what's going on in your life that's great. We want to hear all about it on that Facebook group. We are also on YouTube. If you want to find us there, just do a quick search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and you'll know whenever we have a new video. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
And we will not share your email address ever whether you're writing to us through Gmail or connecting through our newsletter.
Nope. It's just used for us to pass along the information that you desire, whether it be the newsletter or whatever you've talked about through the Gmail account.
Exactly.
Yes. So that's it. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.